This is Newsday. Krupa and Lawrence. News up next, then more from us. Stay tuned. BBC World Service.
This is the BBC World Service, where Richard Kenny learns how religious leaders in Kenya are helping to fight discrimination.
After violent mob attacks on LGBT people in Mombasa, one support group is working with preachers to tackle the problem.
What we wanted them to understand is that the LGBT persons are not planning to harm them.
People fixing the world, turning preachers into LGBT allies.
At bbcworldservice.com. This is the BBC on Digital Radio Mondiale. You can get all the latest news from the BBC 24 hours a day by heading online and visiting bbc.com/news.
The BBC on DRM for Europe. Better radio altogether.
Hello, this is Lawrence Pollard and Krupa Paddy with you on Newsday, live the BBC World Service.
Over the next 30 minutes, concern in Afghanistan as Kabul falls to the Taliban. The president has fled, many others, they're trying to do the same. One Afghan woman shares her anger.
And after losing elections 5 times, Zambia's opposition leader has won an election. We'll bring you reaction from there. All that plus the sport with Paul as well in about 10 minutes' time.
BBC News with Danielle Yawowiecka. A Taliban spokesman has told the BBC that they are working to form a new government in Afghanistan a day after the capital, Kabul, capitulated and President Ghani fled abroad. The insurgents have urged calm, but Kabul is in chaos, with many ordinary residents desperate to leave. Taliban leaders have previously promised to protect the rights of women, but there are fears they could reintroduce the strict Sharia law they imposed before being ousted by a US-led invasion 20 years ago. The United States says all its embassy staff in Kabul are now waiting at the international airport ready to be evacuated. More than 60 countries have signed a statement saying all those who want to leave Afghanistan must be allowed to do so. They say those in power are responsible for the protection of life and property and the restoration of order. The US Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell has blamed President Biden for what he called a shameful failure of American leadership in Afghanistan. He said terrorists and competitors such as China were watching the embarrassment of a superpower laid low. In other news, aid workers in Haiti are racing to provide food and shelter to those affected by Saturday's earthquake as a major storm approaches. Tropical Depression Grace is expected to bring flooding and mudslides to a country reeling from the quake that killed nearly 1,300 people. Zambia's presidential election has been won by the opposition candidate Hakainde Hichilema. On his 6th bid for the presidency, Mr Hichilema defeated his main rival, the outgoing President Edgar Lungu, by more than 1 million votes. And an overnight curfew has been introduced in the Australian city of Melbourne in an attempt to control the rising number of coronavirus infections. Residents will not be allowed out of their homes between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. unless they have an exemption permit. A lockdown is being extended until September. BBC News.
Many thanks indeed for the latest. Hello, welcome back to Newsday with Krupa and Lawrence. We're obviously going to be talking a great deal about Afghanistan. President Ashraf Ghani has already left the country. There are hundreds more trying to leave at the airport. Chaotic scenes there. The American embassy has relocated to a compound at the airport. Also, we're going to be talking about Zambia's nearly man winning at the 6th time of asking. A new leader for the country, and a curfew in Jos in Nigeria following a brutal attack on Muslims returning from a religious festival. All that, and Paul Serres is here with the sport in about 15 minutes' time.
Well, let's start with a rundown of the extraordinary events of the last few hours inside Afghanistan. The government there has collapsed with the Taliban taking Kabul. There are reports that its president, Ashraf Ghani, has fled to Uzbekistan. Their former president, Hamid Karzai, he is offering to lead the transition of power with the Taliban. Meanwhile, thousands of residents and foreign nationals are trying to escape Kabul. There are chaotic scenes of panic and chaos at the airport that has been happening since Sunday night. I've been